Hi, it's a glorious afternoon here in Shropshire, and I have just come back from an unexpected 2-week stay at my parents' because they've been a bit ill, and I'd left all my seedlings out. So I'd planted some and left a lot of seedlings out ready to sow when I got back, which was only meant to be a few days. It was actually 2.5 weeks, so the seedlings remained in their trays, which would have been good if my husband had spotted them when he was watering. He didn't, and we have absolute devastation of most of the seeds that I planted 3 months ago, up to 3 months ago, and cared for the 3 months, and now they've wilted and died. So let me show you where we are. This is what 2 weeks of not watering in a unexpected spring heat wave in the UK looks like. I've actually thrown away a lot of the seedlings that were just obviously dead, and I'm hoping that the plants that are left here may have a chance of surviving. So we have some Nigella here. They've fared reasonably well, as have the cornflower. I'm not so sure that the Godetia has survived, and I've lost the label for these, but whatever they are, they've done better than others. The grasses in the next tray is probably touch and go. I mean, certainly the stalks at that end are dead. This grass may survive, highly unlikely, but you never know. And again, this grass may survive. I'm not holding out much hope, but it's got two choices at this point in time. This tray here hasn't done too badly, interestingly. The Cosmos, which is this one, looks okay now that it's had a water. There's a few dill and there's a few Amimajus. So we're not doing too bad in that tray, which is interesting because that tray specifically is quite a deep tray, whereas the grasses are grown in a relatively, well, as you can see from there, that's much shallower than the green trays and cheaper and a lot more flimsy. Now, whether that has anything to do with it or not, I don't know. But these green trays have been surprisingly good. Other seeds that I had in these black trays, so all my snapdragons, all of my larkspur, gone. In comparison, these trays here, which my husband did see, as opposed to the whole stack of seedlings that he didn't see. These ones he did water, and they're doing really well. So I haven't lost everything, although I have lost a lot. So now I know what seeds I need to sow again. Fortunately, it's the 1st of June. There's still plenty of time to sow some seeds and have them flowering in this season, albeit I'm not going to have much flowering probably in July. But this is a good experiment to see how quickly the seeds pick up now that it's warm. So when I planted in March, and I've carefully looked after the seeds for the last March, April, May, 3 months, and how small the plants were, you know, it would be interesting how quickly the seedlings grow from scratch starting today. and see whether I really need to be worrying about planting them so early. I have no choice now, so I have to try it and see. So my season will be starting late, but we'll get there. It's not the end of the world. So this afternoon I'm going to be planting a whole load of new seeds. Fortunately, because I'm just planting for my house, I don't need lots of plants, so I'm going to get as many different varieties into the seed trays that I have, and hopefully producing maybe 5 or 6 plants of each variety, and that will give me enough scope to be able to provide a lot of colour and variety for the house, and for flowers in the house. Yes, so that's today's job. Following on from that, I am going to plant out the seeds. Once all of the seedlings that remain have had another good long drink, so that they are the best they can be, I will plant them out so that they can start growing in proper soil, and get the nutrients from that, because I think everything's been drained out of the seed trays now, but I just want them to be as fully watered as possible before I plant them, so that they're in the best of health. So I'll be planting those out. I'll be planting out my dahlias, and hopefully this disaster that's happened will be behind us by the end of the week. So if you want to join me on some early June seed sowing, then keep watching. So first things first, I am going to prepare the seed trays with the compost. So I'm creating a mix of just normal multi-purpose peat-free compost, some worm castings, some vermiculite, and I am going to fill the seed trays with the compost mix and then let it soak for about half an hour, so that that compost is damp before I'm sowing the seeds. So, and the reason that I do that is because if you water your seeds once they're in situ, then you may well wash them away, so you won't know where they are. They won't be as evenly dispersed if you water from above rather than letting the water come up from the bottom of the seed trays. So that's the first job, getting the seed trays ready and watering them. Because it's the beginning of June, then in theory I should be able to direct sow all my seeds straight out into the garden. However, I've got weed membrane down for everything to try and cut back on the weeds, and because I have a problem with weeds at the moment, then when the young seedlings start growing, I don't necessarily know what they're going to look like, and therefore I might weed out plants that I want to keep. So for safety, I'm putting them in the seed trays first. But if you have a space that is weed free, or you know what the seed will look like, I know some of them but not everything, then you can plant direct at this time of year without the hassle of all of this seed mixing. But because I haven't got that, then we're going to do the seed mix, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Oh, I have counted up the seeds that I want to sow. So there's 19 different packets of seeds. Now I don't need many flowers for each one, but there's 19 that I need to get sown. So I need quite a bit of soil mix and quite a few trays. So now the seed trays are filled with compost, and I've put them into some gravel trays that I have that are filled with water. I'll top that up, and then slowly the compost in each of the seed tray will become moist through I'm going to say osmosis. I don't know, but because the trays have holes in the bottom of them, then the water will seep through. So it needs about half an hour of soaking, and it should be sufficient to start planting seeds. So I shall leave this for half an hour whilst they soak up the water and come back to it then. So I've got myself organised. The soil is nicely moist, and I've organised the seeds in depth of sowing so that I can get multiple different types of seeds in a seed tray without worrying too much about whether they are covered in the same way. So basically the way that they are planted are the same within each seed tray. So the first ones we are going to plant are the ones that are surface sown. So literally they need light to grow, and therefore just evening the soil out. Therefore you just sprinkle them onto the top, and they will, that's it. Couldn't be more simple. So this is China Aster. I do have a few of these ready. Yeah, it does say surface sow. They're quite big seeds, so I'm surprised. They're normally the tiny seeds are the ones that you surface sow. But we shall put some in. Now, my plan is to there. Just lightly sow a few so we can see what happens. So that section there are these China Aster. Have some labels already. Next one will be another China Aster, this time Duchess series. So it's actually a mix of colours, whereas that first one is Tower Chame, so it's a lovely pink. The others will be more apricotty and a variety, so we shall see. We shall get those going. So let me just sprinkle these on. Larger seeds are so much easier to sow. And because we're going to have a variety of these ones, I'm going to take up a little bit more space. And the final one in this tray is Bupleurum. If you've watched any of my other videos about soil blocking and watching me be clumsy with those, you'll see I find it much easier to sow directly like this. But I will continue with my experiments with the soil blocking, but I just needed to get all of these in quickly. I didn't want to mess around. I've got the space now because of the other seeds that have grown. I've got the space that I can put these outside because it's warm enough, and therefore it's not so restrictive. them down so that they are all touching the surface as best we can tell. And then leave them to grow. So let's put them to the side and start on the next. So these ones are covered with a light sprinkling. So depending on how much I need, I will be varying the amount that I will sow. I think I'm going to try and get at least 3 different varieties in this tray. These are a light sprinkling, so I can again do them similarly to the previous ones. Sprinkle on. I actually don't need many at all of these. If you've got a small plot, cornflowers grow into really quite big plants, and they're really quite generous with the amount of flowers that they produce. It's a random. So as they are generous, and as they don't require, as they're generous and they're large, I don't need many. I've probably sown far too many than I actually need, but I kind of want to make sure I have some. These are nice scented stock. In reality, they make they just make the garden smell nice. I've never really used them as cut flowers, but they're nice to sprinkle around the garden. So if you are out in an evening, then it's really nice. Now, again, because this is on that one, I'm planting these to fill the gaps of everything that I've lost. Let me just label those so far. I am kind of putting it together. So all I've done is organised it so that they are treated the same as far as how to process them at the sowing stage. Now, whether they germinate at the same rate will be interesting. So this next one is Billy Buttons. I've never grown this before. But they look fun. They're like drumsticks, little yellow drumsticks. So I thought I would give it a try. Again, I think I've probably sown too many for what I actually need, but let's just go with it. And finally, in this tray, I'm going to go for some gomphrena. And again, these are similar to the Billy Buttons. Apart from Billy Buttons are round pom-poms, and this gomphrena, I believe, is kind of like a spike. They're both dry well, so this is for my drying, to make sure that, see what I can do, whether I can produce some exciting flowers for drying. Just spotted a cornflower. So again, I am doing, as I say, we are just at this point trying to get them going, and then I am going to plant them. When they need pricking out, they will be pricked out directly into the soil. And this needs a sprinkling of compost over the top. So let me just go and get that now. Okay, so I have some compost. This is just a fine sprinkling. So really just needs a light covering. You can use vermiculite for this, or I guess perlite. But I've got the compost to hand and not really, well, I finished off the vermiculite, so it's a bit too much. There we go. Second one done. And then this one, again, it's a fine sprinkling, but larkspur. Now I'm not going to show you how to do all of them. The larkspur is my nemesis. I really struggle to get these to grow. And I was so pleased previously the one that stopped growing, or the one that dried out because of my poor, let's line this down, because of my poor management of my seeds, were the first time I'd ever got them to grow. So I'm really gutted about that. Now I've got another variety there, which is a hyacinth mix. This one is Imperialis, which I think is just a blue. So I'm going to do more of the mix so I can see where we get to. Now I'm going to do a whole tray because they are fussy and I have such difficulty. I only need, well, however many I'll get, I will be happy with. They are better direct sown and they do like a cold snap. So ideally you cold stratify them, which means putting them into the fridge to start with, to get them thinking that they've been through a winter, and then they're good to go. I feel like I haven't got the luxury of time at the moment, so we're just going with it and see what happens. So that's that, and a sprinkle. I have got a sieve to do this, and I don't know why I haven't brought it up with me, but I'm just wanting to get on. There we go, another one done. So I will continue with all of the other seeds and come back to you when I'm finished. And there we have it, all of the seeds sown to hopefully replace all of the ones I have just lost. Let's see whether we can get just as good a display sowing them on the 1st of June to the ones that would have been sown in March. We shall see what happens.